All right. Hello, everyone. We are live. Cool. Let me know you can see me and hear me okay, as usual. And let's actually share my screen, shall we? There we go. Cool. All right. So we are going to test drive sending an email notification for the Shift Workbench license. So let's see here. All right, Laravel Shift. Let's not get double feedback from YouTube there. And so if you're not familiar with the Workbench, probably about a couple years ago now, we released a cloud-based Workbench. But last summer, almost a year ago now, Jess and I released a desktop version, excuse me, of the Workbench as well. And so you can kind of see it in this little screenshot here, but basically it's an Electron app. Of course, I can just bring it up. I don't even need to tell you what it is. Let's actually see what it is, shall we? So, all right. Yeah, hey everybody. Samuel, how's it going? Sarab, what's up? Adrian, of course. Hey, how's it going? All right, I'm not going to download the latest update now, but here is the Electron application. It gives you pretty much all of the automation underneath Shift. You can go out here and kind of take a peek, but there's like 60 plus tasks here for Laravel. Some of the base code practices are in here, Laravel 9 specific stuff, PHP 8.1 specific stuff, all sorts of crazy tasks just floating in here, as you can see from that scroll bar, just crazy amount, 60 plus tasks. You run them completely locally, it's backed by Docker. You can kind of pick different things, but there's kind of before and afters of kind of what these things look like. So here's one that if you have any string references, it's going to attempt to use the new PHP class constant, new as of PHP 5. So very long time ago. So again, some legacy syntax cleanup there. So whether it's PHP refactoring or Laravel convention, adopting Laravel conventions, adopting latest code within Laravel, all sorts of things that Shift does. You can run these one-off now on your projects locally or in the cloud. So I bring up the desktop application, not necessarily to be salesy, but like I said, it's about a year ago now that this was released. The licenses for this last a year. So I need to send notifications to people that their license is about to expire and let them know that how they can renew it if they want, or that they of course can continue to use the free tasks if they don't want to renew. All good. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Let me close down some of this extra stuff. Hey Jonathan, how's it going? Daryl, what's up? So what I want to do is try to drive that out with a test. I'll be honest, a lot of the times I won't write a test for these types of commands, but I thought it was a good live stream opportunity to do so. I definitely do have plenty of tests. We'll see when I go run the suite here. There's all sorts of tests for the controller and so forth. I really do a good job of testing those because Laravel makes it so easy with their HTTP testing layer. But if you look at the console commands, I really only test the ones that either send email or kick off some bit of automation. And I do that because of the scale at which Shift is at now. I don't want to spam tens of thousands of users the wrong thing. So I like to make sure that these types of mission critical things or annoying like developer foot gun things I do test out. So, and again, for the purposes of live streaming, I thought it'd be nice to again drive it out with a test. So let's jump in. I'm going to make a command here, probably something similar to this send follow-up emails. So this will be something like send license renewal or something, send license renewal notification or something like that. Okay, so let's make a new file. So I think send's a little redundant. So let's just say something like license renewal notification. And lately, for the last while now, I've kind of stopped suffixing commands with command. You'll see them here in some old stuff, drop shift command or dump shift command. But some of these really early commands, but anything recent, I really just don't do it anymore. About the only thing I still keep that kind of type suffix on is controllers, just because, again, that's pretty conventional. But actually, I don't do it for invocable controllers. So if you go in here and look in controllers, most have controller, but an invocable controller, just a little single action controller, actually make more action-oriented, add order to plan. So a bit of a tangent there, but the point is I kind of quit adding those things on the end. So. All right, let's just borrow kind of the class setup of this, just so we don't have to type a bunch of stuff. And let's get all the proper syntax, and of course the namespace, app, console, commands. All right, and let's go back. So that's our command we copied. So I'm just going to drive at least this part out here. So this is license renewal notification. And yes, Adrian, you are right. I was so busy talking about no suffixes that I actually forgot to put the suffix on this. Oh, I'm not on my... Looks like my function key is not auto-depressed there. All right, cool. So license renewal notification test. So we do need to suffix these by the laws of PHP unit there. So... Oh, did I copy the wrong thing over? I think I just did. Crap. I think I just changed the wrong bit here. All right. This is the improper namespace. So let's extend test case, and this will be a test case. That's good. And then let's get the proper thing here. This is tests commands. So we haven't made the actual implementation yet, of course, because we want to drive it out. So sorry, this is feature console commands. So let's get this right. Feature console commands. There we go. All right, now this test should run. Of course, it doesn't have anything. So let's just do it sends renewal email for upcoming expirations. I totally did not spell that right. Expirations. There we go. That's better. All right, let's format that. And for now, let's just do this. Assert false true. I just want to see this fail. All right. So all I'm really doing now, I'm not necessarily going to do this the whole stream, but I'll start out by kind of practicing things at a bit of like a nano TDD cycle, meaning like before I write any implementation code, I have to have a failing test. So right now, I'm actually just testing that the test itself is wired up correctly. So again, there's no implementation whatsoever. It's simply that I've actually written my test. So this test is really just testing the testing code. So a bit nano cycle there, a bit miniature or minuscule, but let's just kind of start slow. Throw some questions in chat, and then we'll keep going here. Oh, and you know what? While we're waiting for Docker to fire up, let's check out license renewal notification. Can't spell that today. All right, cool. And then, yeah, this is why we test stuff, Adrian. But yeah, Adrian's chomping at the bit today, so he's just going to help us and remind us that we need the little annotation test there. So since we don't have it here, I like to do the its. That's kind of, it feels more Laravel-y to me to do the its. Anyway, let's jump into Docker and let's actually attempt to run this. And we should get a failure, but the goal here, what we would expect to see is that the test actually runs and demonstrates that failure. So let's do vendor bin PHP unit. You are my co-pilot today, thank you. Let's run this test and see if we get the proper assertion. Okay, great. So it ran the test failure, it ran the proper test case. Oh, sorry, and we got the failure. Failed asserting that true is false, line 14. Hey Samuel, how's it going? So if we go look, that is indeed line 14. So we're on the right track here. So what we want to do now is let's actually turn this into something that's going to kind of start driving out the test that we want here. So we can say something like this, artisan I think you tell it artisan, and then you can do like assert, exit code 0, and then I think you need to run it at the end. So what we could do here is say something like shift license renewal or whatever. And we may change the name of this thing later, but for now we'll just call it license renewal or renewal notification, or I don't know. Sometimes I make those a lot shorter. We'll see. So all we're going to try to do here is actually fire off that command, assert that it exited when we go and run it. So all this is going to do is attempt to run this command within our application. Now, of course, it should fail because this command does not exist, and that's going to at least drive us out to create a command, make it named, and have it at least return the proper 0 exit code. So let's run this again. We should see some kind of Laravel failure. I would expect that some command is not found. The command shift license renewal does not exist. Perfect. It's an internal Laravel command. This is exactly what we want. So yeah, that name could definitely be more descriptive. I don't want something so long that I hate myself every time I have to type it. So license renewal or renewal notifications, or I might even make it something a little techy like like LRN, license renewal notification or something. So it just depends on how much I actually end up typing it. But we're at a place now where we can actually create that license renewal notification command. So let's go ahead and make that. So let's actually, let's have artisan do it for us this time, since I kind of botched it last time. So let's do artisan make command license renewal notification. You could argue maybe it should be notifications, but plural, but I think it's okay. All right, so let's drive this out. So I like to namespace my commands. So we got shift, and this will be license renewal, I believe we called it. And here's where we can say something more descriptive. So send renewal notification for upcoming license expirations. My chat's in the way, I can't see. There we go. Cool. All right, and then by default, it has that whole return 0 bit. So this should be the minimum amount of code. Again, TDD, respecting the philosophy and the practices of TDD, we can only write so much code to make the test pass. So I don't want to put anything else in here. I just want to see, hopefully now, that this passes. And let's find out. So we're running the test. Oh, not make the command. Whoops, command already exists. Thank you for not remaking that, Laravel. Always helpful. Let's run the test instead. And good, the test passed. So just to kind of futz with it here for a second, we could return 1 here instead, and I would expect to see a failure because 1 is not the expected return status code of 0. So expected status code 0, but received 1, failed asserting that 1 matches expected 0. So we can see there that we can change the exit code, and it does everything we expect. So at a bare minimum, this would be how you would actually test running a command, that it existed, that it dumped out a code. But we really haven't done anything to kind of assert what this command does. So here's where I'm going to stop practicing at the nanoscale, and we're just going to kind of jump in and write a big test for what I expect this command to actually do, and then we'll go implement it. So let's see here. Let me bring the chat back up because I'm hearing some. Don't think you need the run command. You know what? That's kind of hit or miss. Let's check the docs. Laravel artisan command test. I'll tell you, you're right if you're only testing a certain amount of things, but I've seen tests fail that start to do more complex assertions like we're going to do here in a minute because run's not there. I don't know, we could go underneath the covers here and see kind of what run does. It sets that to true and it finishes handling like the mocked output. Yeah, so I think if you're messing with output, if you're doing certain things with the controller, I think you need to do run, right? Sorry, if you're doing certain things within the command, not controller, I think you do need to say run. For our very, very simple current test, you're right. It would probably still pass without run, but I've just gotten in the habit of always putting it there. I do think you're right, though. That's something that is kind of my personal thing, because I've seen it be a problem before. So anyway, I like to explicitly put it there. So might not be needed. So try it in your own tests. See what you come across. It has not hurt me to put it there, but I have seen where people over the years or code that hasn't behaved as expected without it. So we really shouldn't have any output, so I'll leave this page up for a minute, but I think what I want to do now is, let's just kind of pseudocode this. I want to make some licenses which expire. Okay, so that's super straightforward. So we're going to just do some factories here. So let's go ahead and bring in use refresh database trait. Make sure we get all of our fancy transactions that happen underneath the covers. And what we can do here is we can do license, let's see, factory. I'm just trying to think of the different types that I might want to create here. So let's go take a look at this license factory real fast. License factory. So we have one for the user. We have expired, good. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay, so by default, so here's what I wanted to look at. By default, I have two different types of licenses. You can have a license that's attributed to your account, in which case, yeah, if it's attributed to your account, then you're going to have a user ID. If you just signed up kind of as a guest, think of it like a guest checkout. If you just did a guest, then I'm only going to have your email. So I want to make sure that Shift is smart enough to, or this command is smart enough to send that to the proper person based on, which one of these fields you have. So I definitely, for those reasons, want to make sure that I kind of have a couple different tests or a couple different licenses that are in here, and then make sure that it's sent one to someone with just an email and sent one for someone that basically, or that has linked it up to their user account. So let's call this user license or something like that. Or I don't want to call it just user. Yeah, user license is fine. Let's just call it that. And then we'll call the other one email license. And this will be license factory. And we saw by default, actually, it creates the one with the email address. So this one will be called user. And that's the one, if we do pass a user ID, it use that. Otherwise, it creates a user for us and nulls out the email. So these are the two different licenses. And in both of these cases, I would want to create one that's expired also. And then what I'm going to do is actually copy this for kind of my negative data path. And I would want to remove the expired portion. And now we should have some tests set up. So what we have now is one that should go out to a user based on their user's email address, and then the other one which should go out to the email address on file for the license. And then finally we'll make two more of those, one for a user and one for an email address, but those aren't expired. So now what we would want to do is basically assert that an email was sent for these two licenses. And that's really it. So now down here we would do something, like mail assert, or for now we could just say something like assert 2 emails were sent. We can get more specific here in a minute, but let's kind of get back to writing code. So the first thing I want to do is, before I call artisan, or the command in this case, I want to fake the mailer. So let's import that. And then finally we would say something like mail assert sent And we could say here, actually, we'll just go ahead and tighten these up all the way. So let's make a mail message so we don't, again, not at the nanocycle here. So let's do artisan make mail, and this would be like license renewal notification. Again, these names are starting to, anytime I have a name that starts repeating itself all the way across the application, it does feel like the name's wrong. Or at least the command, right? Because I'm calling the mail itself the license renewal notification. The command itself probably should not be called license renewal notification. It should probably be called maybe more of that action, like send license renewals or something like that, or send renewal notifications, or yeah. So I might change that after the fact. Anyway, tangent. So now we can say license renewal notification class, and then let's go ahead and create this callback here. And so probably what we would want to do here in this function, we would get the mail message, and at the least we could say mail has to basically of user license user email, right? And let's add that to the closure, and then let's do the same thing for not this one, but the email license, and we wouldn't have that user qualifier. So at the very least, we can assert that a email was sent this particular license renewal notification email. Did I not call it that? License renewal. Am I crazy? Do I already have one of these? Your shift workbench expires this week. Where is this called? I didn't think I already had one of these. Email license renewals. Oh, that's hilarious. Do I already have one of these? That can't be right. I might already have one of these. Email license renewals. That's funny. Well, it doesn't seem like it has a test, so we can borrow that email notification here in just a minute. That's good. Okay, well, we'll keep this notification because apparently I already have the email, and it looks like I already have a partial command for it as well, but it's not tested. So hey, look at this. We're going to drive it out anyway. Okay, cool. So I think this should be correct. We're just using not the mail message I just created. So that's kind of funny. That's hilarious. Maybe, Sarab, did you help build this? I don't remember. Maybe Jess did. Maybe that's why I don't remember. Okay, what's going on in the chat? Have you considered using Pest? Yeah, I think at one point in time, Nuno was saying that like V2 or something was going to support namespaces. There were some things about it that I didn't like or felt like weren't all the way complete yet. And I remember when I was asking Nuno about it, it sounded like version 2 was coming, you know, very soon. And I waited. But this was like a year ago now, so I may look at it again as the point. No love for PHP test. Switching between the terminal looks annoying. Yeah, it's dealer's choice. You know, setting up your test runner within PHP Storm can also equally be annoying. So, you know, all depends. Are you sending this email when the license expires, or is this a reminder? This is going to be a reminder, so this will be a few days in advance. So. Hectic, how about changing our current mail to remind that it is about to expire? Yeah, I think I answered the question. Sarab, no. Okay, so you didn't build it. Maybe Jess did. Or maybe I did and just forgot. Anyway, let's keep going here. I think that's a good point about the license going to expire. That's a good point about it going to expire. I feel like I probably shouldn't use this, that it's already expired. Maybe this is what you were asking. But I feel like I do probably want to set the ends at to be like now add week maybe. Yeah. This is kind of interesting. License about to expire. Yeah, you could definitely make a state for it, but I want a little more control because I want to make sure that I'm able to set them farther out and kind of assert that those aren't going to show up. So I want to demonstrate. I'm just trying to think how far out would I want to send these. I think if it expires in like the current week, because this email reminder is not necessarily going to be sent like nightly. It would be sent maybe like once a week or something on a, or well, it would probably need to be sent on weekdays. Yeah, let's just go with a week for now. I think the point though is that I might want this to be a little lenient. I might need to like freeze time for the purposes of this test so that I could so that I can make sure I capture a weekday. What I'm trying to say is that if you have a license that's going to expire Monday, you should get this the previous Monday. But I personally don't like emailing people on a weekend. So typically I turn my email notifications off, or my jobs. I don't schedule my jobs to run, these types of jobs anyways, that send emails to run on like a Saturday. I try to respect, the weekend. So if someone's license were going to expire the following Saturday, I would just want to make sure that they got that notification first thing Monday. So that is a little bit of a nuance here that again is not in the current tasks. So we'll kind of see what that looks like here in a minute. But I think the last thing I want to demonstrate is like, let's just say something like add days like 8 here. I definitely would never go that far out. And then this one, of course, is whatever. So I think this is a better test setup for the code that we're about to write. So basically, we're setting these up to end within a week, hopefully. And then we have some that are set up to expire beyond a week, in this case, right on the edge or that boundary case. I like to get that boundary test case in there, and then one that just expires way out in the future, doesn't matter. And then finally, we've got mail, assert, we've got this license renewal, already this email that existed, we said, and then we're just making sure that it's going to the right person here. So I think we have this set up. Let's see how badly everything fails when we try to run it. Now hopefully we don't get any like syntax errors. Hopefully we get mailable was not sent, which we do. Hopefully it says, hey, this email was not sent. That's exactly what we want. So now I think let's go figure out the code that I already wrote. Email users with expiring license. So we say where in between now and now a week. So I kind of already wrote some of that. And then we get those licenses, we loop over them, and then we basically send them out with the license itself. So I don't want to copy code. Let's keep with our actual tests, or our actual test-driven class here. So we can kind of do something naively similar. So let's just say something like licenses equal license. Let's get a little query object going here. And we would say something probably pretty similar actually, where it's just like where between. Now the reason we're using where between is we wouldn't want to send this to people in the past, right? Now I don't think our test case actually covers that, so I'm gonna be, there was this guy I used to pair with, his name is Wilkie, and Wilkie, or his nickname was Wilkie, I think it was his last name. Wilkie was really, really good when you wrote your test. He was really, really good at finding the loophole or the boundary that you missed. So even though I kind of pre-wrote this test thinking I got all these things, he would write like the super naive, implementation that would demonstrate what you were missing in your test. He was really, really good about doing that. It was almost annoying. He was so good. So I'm going to act like Wilkie right now and demonstrate something that I think is potentially broken or missing in our test. So I'm simply going to say where ends at is less than now add week, right? And then we'll get, okay, so basically naive implementation, get all licenses where it ends at less than a week from now, right? And then we can just say something like for each, or we don't even really need a for each, and we can get a little cleaner here and just say something like each. Can you dispatch a mail with each? I don't know if that'd be really cool if you could like higher order like a dispatch. I think you can actually map. No, because you call to on it. That's kind of gross. Anyway, we'll just make our own little function here. It's all the same. And we'll say something like for each of those licenses, or license in this case, we would say mail to, and then we have this notification, or I have this notification email. Man, I cannot spell notification today. Notification. Jeez. And then we would send, what do we call that? License renewal? Yeah. I think a send a new, this is another piece in Laravel that I don't like, this new license renewal bit with a license. Cool. That is a property, it's public, it's queuable, good. All right, let's bring in mail and let's go look at this license notification just real quick. So I mentioned before that you can have a user email address, or it can be attributed to your user account. And so based on that, this notification email is, or where is this there it is. So basically, if you have online access as well, meaning it's attached to your user account, then send the notification email you prefer as a user, otherwise use the email address. So this kind of handles that logic on which email address to use, which is driven out in our test that we are at least partially aware of this because of the kind of toggling that we do in this setup. So again, I thought about that boundary case, but not all of them. So we'll just send this off, and then there's kind of nothing else to do. So that's everything in a nice tight little each there with a closure, which we could probably even collapse that a bit if we wanted to, because it's just not doing anything. So, or an arrow function, I guess is what I'm getting at. I'm hearing some stuff in the chat. Use a closure in the each. Yeah, I did. Hey there, too late question. I don't know what that means. You can. Adrian, I don't know what you mean you can. Maybe you're replying to something I said a minute ago. All right, let's see if this works. And then I'll go back and kind of fix my Wilkie moment there that I was referencing. Okay, call to a member function send on string. Oh, did I? I did not get my parentheses in the right place. Let's fix that. Yay, tests. All right, let's try this again. All right, mailable was not sent. The expected app mail license renewal mailable was not sent. Okay. So when in doubt, log it out. So I'm just going to say dump license notification. Let's just make sure this is behaving the way I think. So notification email. Let's just see that we're getting in here. This is going to kind of tell us we're getting in here, and this is going to tell us who we're sending this to. So let's see if this is actually accurate. Okay, so we did get in there with at least one email address. Might not have been two, but at least one. So that's good. So we either failed immediately after that. Okay, so I think there's a couple problems here. One, this is not falling within the now add week time frame. So just trying to think of, date math is always a little funny. Would I actually want to include the week, or would I want to be under a week? It's kind of like a start of day kind of thing, right? Like I'm almost thinking like it needs to be like, you know, start of day. So it's just midnight, or like end of day even, like end of day a week from now. Would it be start of day or end of day? It'd probably be, if I want to be less than a full week from now. So if your license expired next Monday at 3 p.m. and I run this at 2 in the morning, I would want to get you on that day. So I think for those reasons, I would say something like add week to now. That's fine, but I think this one I would want to say end of day. And again, there's just a little nuance there. Let's see if it picks both of these up now. But I do think it might have been leading to the failing test. If not, I'll check the chat. Okay, yeah, so that was my issue, is just a little date math there, and that's good. And again, that's why we write test. It made me think through, do I actually want to include the thing on the day a week from now, or would I want that to kind of end? Now, what's going to be a little bit tricky here, and this is where I might want to end up freezing time, is like, let's say my test suite ran at midnight. You know, I might actually get a failure here, even though this is behaving the way I would want. So I may want to freeze these tests to be a certain thing, or do something here where it's like, I think you can set the time. Yeah, I think you can say like set time or something. Yeah, there we go. And we could say something like, you know, 11, you know, 23 or whatever, just to make sure that we never had a situation where I was going to be past that time. All right, let's check the chat. And then let me go back to talk about the thing. You should check the end and start of the day in the query. Add a second. Yes, exactly. Cool. How many sugars do you drink with your coffee? No sugars, but I do have like a flavor. I put a little salted caramel, like a tiny little, like 3 drops in there, and then a little milk or cream. Okay, so this is passing, but people in the chat are bringing up some good points, and this is kind of the that Wilkie point that I was talking about beforehand. Okay, so right now I'm just saying anything before this certain date, right? Well, everyone ever is going to get an email notification when they really shouldn't. So I want to tighten this up by doing just a few things here. So first of all, I want to say like mail assert sent, and I think somewhere in these you can say like how many. I thought there was an assertion to say how many of them were sent. Oh, there's a callable or int. There we go. Sometimes these overloaded things in Laravel, they're a little confusing, but I think we can say something like that. If we go look at assert mail sent, like way down in the fake, basically if this is numeric, then it asserts sent times. Now is that, see, this is protected. Like, why is this protected? I wish this was just public, right? Like this should just be public. So anyway. All right, so yeah, so assert sent this twice, and then we're gonna assert on the individual ones. Now this is gonna prevent the fact that I'm gonna send multiple, but to prove that we have this error and kind of demonstrate that whole tangent about my old pairing buddy, I want to throw in kind of an old license here. And I want to say something like license factory user, and I want to say, this is where I would want to use an expired license already. So we know that this is going to be in the past, but because it is less than now plus a week, I think we're going to see that our test passes, but we're actually going to be emailing way too many things. So this still passes, but notice from our original debugging a minute ago, we're getting 3 things that are sent. So a lot of the times you'll maybe see me on Twitter or in a PR comment or something talking about I like to make my tests strict, right? I want to make sure that they're as strict as possible. Because this is something, I'm telling you, I've missed this before in production. And I had a very weird situation where one of my queues actually wasn't running, and it took me a couple days to realize that, and I fired up the queue, and even though in my mind, because I was scheduling those jobs daily, it should never email anybody in the past because of the that kind of perfect storm of the job not running and being a few days delayed, this bug like this came to my attention, that I was actually emailing people historically, all the way through time. And it wasn't really a big deal when Shift was very young and didn't have, a lot of users. But when that happened a couple years ago and I had a few thousand users, there was a time where I sent follow-up emails to pretty much everyone that had ever run Shift. Some people in the chat might have gotten one of those, because I know some of these names over the years, Adrian and stuff, you guys might have seen that or remembered that back in the day. I wrote a little blog post about it, because it literally sent like 3,000 emails in the middle of the night one night, and I woke up to all these replies, all these spam notifications, because of a logic mistake like this. So let me uncomment this, and let's get this formatting correct. And now we should get an error because it sent 3, not 2. So I have the test set up, and this is going to demonstrate, and here we go, failed asserting that 3 is identical to 2, mailable was sent 3 times instead of 2 times. So we now know that we're sending too many emails. Now we could draw this out with a special test case, like it does not send to older, renewal notifications or whatever. But this is where that betweens, which I had written and we saw before. So we could say something here like where between, just to borrow from that existing code. And here we're going to say now start of day to now end of day. And because of some of this start of day and end of day stuff, this is where in my test, again, I may ultimately end up freezing time and kind of making sure these boundaries are working the way I would expect. But for now, let's run the test again and make sure that we're passing. And then I'll address some of the stuff mentioned in the chat. Okay, good. We are back to passing. The correct emails are being sent based on our test setup and structure. So this user is getting 1 and this user is getting 1. That's what we would expect. Now, again, we could start tweaking with the time here, but I think there's been some good points mentioned in the chat. So let's see that, and then that will end on those notes. So, okay, so scheme or schemey or whatever. What about on every Monday, checking for expiring license in the upcoming week? That way you prevent sending a mail on weekends too. Yes. The only thing is about that, I do that for subscriptions actually, so I may end up doing the same thing. I may do that. But here's the thing. If you're, I think from a business standpoint, if you have a bunch of users that are expiring their license on Friday, and you remind them on Friday, and then they leave for the weekend, and you don't ever remind those people again, they got 1 notification, that's it. That's not a lot of time for them to act, right, in my mind. So I may want to send these nightly or something along those lines, just to make sure I'm giving people time. So worst case scenario, your license would expire Saturday, and you wouldn't get that until later on, maybe a day behind, right? So I think for those reasons, I would want to make sure that doesn't happen. So you could use today if you like. Yes, they're all sorts of fun little helpers. Yeah. So that's a good point though. So I think what I'm going to do is send this nightly on weekdays, but first thing in the morning. So what I would want to do then, what kind of needs to happen to that point though, if I don't want to send them on the weekend, you would get the same one. You would get the same email every day for that week right now. So yeah, this is where the logic's wrong. So I'm just thinking through this. If I went in, let's just go do this. If I went into kernel, we won't really be able to test this necessarily. But if I went in here and did this, just like this, weekdays, and let's just say I sent it at, first thing in the morning, 2 a.m. or something like that. And let's just call this what we called it, shift license renewal, I think we said. License renewal, yeah, okay. So if we think about this, if I send these emails every weekday at 2 a.m. and your license expires on Friday, today is Wednesday. Okay, so I'm gonna get this email tomorrow morning, Thursday. I'm also gonna get it Friday because I'm expiring. So right now I'm getting that email every single day because I'm sending this every weekday. So I think what I'm getting at is our logic needs to be a bit smarter because we're not going to send this once for the whole week and then only send it again. This is why the scheduling and the task dates kind of matter. You have to kind of think through this, and this is the part where I want to adjust these kind of once and for all. So if I do want to send this on weekdays, but not the weekend, then I'm going to need some special logic here that kind of says, okay, what day am I sending this? And if I'm on Friday, then I would go ahead and send the renewal notifications for people to include the weekend. But if I'm on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it doesn't matter. I don't need to kind of go back in time. So really kind of what needs to happen, what this would kind of look like, is these between dates would really just be for the current day, unless it's Friday, and then you're going to kind of send them for the weekend as well. So probably what I would want to do is write an additional test case for that. So really what I'm getting at here is that your license has to expire a week from the current day you're on, unless it's a Friday, in which case I would want to say it expires today or any time over the weekend. So that's really what we need to write here. Okay, so first thing I want to do is change this code. So I want to say it sends a renewal email for expirations a week out. Or, well, let's just get this a little farther. For licenses expiring in 1 week. Okay, so this will give people a little more time. Again, that's kind of just a business decision. So what I would want to do here instead is say add week and then set the time kind of in a weird place. And then this one I would want to do the same thing, add week, and kind of demonstrate the same point, like set its time to be maybe something like really early in the morning, right? So like 1:11, right? So it's like 1 a.m. So we're going to change this to demonstrate how that goes. So you'd probably be reusing the same mail, but change the wording to say how your license, reminder, your license expiring this week. Your license reminder, your license is expiring tomorrow. Yeah, again, I want to give people more time, so I'm not too worried about that. Adrian, wouldn't it be easier to store when the last notification was sent? If we stored the last notification sent, then you could say, why would that matter? That would just give you the anchor, but I would still need to know to only send to people, X number of days in the future. That doesn't really solve like the weekday things, storing the notification. Or maybe I'm not understanding how storing the last notification sent solves the week day only logic, because that's what I'm working on right now. I can understand storing the last notification working if somehow notifications weren't sent for a day, you know, or the queue messed up or whatever. I get you on that. Knowing kind of when the last one was sent makes sense from that perspective, but I'm not sure how that helps with the current logic we're talking about. So let me know if I'm missing something. So let's run this again. I think everything should still probably pass, but now we need to like break our code. So unknown setter 1. What'd I break here? Renew test 24. Oh, duh, set time. My bad. All right. Good, so this still works, but it's kind of working, you know, luckily. So I think what we want to say is now add week start of day, and now add week end of day, right? So if you're anytime during the day a week from now, that day, then you're going to get this notification. We could do something where like we checked like the date of ends at instead of the time too, like so we just kind of did some like casting. That is possible. In fact, let me see what ends at is. Is it a date time or just a date? Let me check the database. License is a timestamp, so we do give them, you know, the full amount of time, a full year plus the time. So let's, from the purposes of this, it doesn't matter, but I think this is a more efficient query than doing something, you know, weird, like, you know, where I made that date and then I'm all like MySQL specific and it just gets weird. So let's just keep what we have here between those two dates. Okay, so we know this works the way we want. Now I want to write that other test to kind of drive out the weekend logic here. So the last thing I want to do here is, let's say it sends renewal email for licenses expiring over the weekend. You could run the command on each weekday, filter rows out that already got a notification, and just filter where licenses will expire within the next X days. Yes. So you won't send it multiple times. Yeah. I'm not worried about sending it multiple times, really, because we've kind of locked that down to marry up the relationship that this goes out on weekdays. So we've already kind of scheduled it to be weekdays at 2 a.m. So I'm not super worried about that part. Storing, you could definitely do it that way. I think that's an alternative approach. I just think it feels a little heavy to make an extra column for people that got a notification. You know, I don't know. I don't feel it necessary. I'm kind of calling Yagni, I guess, in my mind, of like adding an additional database column and then performing an equivalent amount of logic to determine, you know, if they've received it or not. And it's still, I don't see how that solves kind of the skipping the weekend either. So anyway, I think now is where we're going to need to like test the time. So let's say something like now equals new, or well, I don't think we need to do that. We can just say carbon create, and let's make a very specific date, which we know. Let's bring in Illuminate support, and we'll say carbon create, so let's say 2022 6/10. We know this is a Friday. I don't really care about the time necessarily. But we know that that becomes Friday. So instead of that, I'm going to say something like Friday. All right. And then I'm going to do carbon set test now to be Friday. So that way we can pretend inside of our test and everything that that's running. So, all right. So now license factory user create. So this is ends at, we'll say now, add day, and we're going to set the time to the same thing, just kind of like 11, and then we'll say something like now add days to, so make sure to demonstrate that that's Sunday as well. We know that it's not going to send to like any more people, but I guess what I might want to do, just for giggles, is let's put this out on Monday. And I'm not going to make so many other factories because I'm just not as worried about it anymore. Okay, so we should send that out, and then it should only send 2, and it should send to the same, it should send the same kind of logic, right? So really all we've done is just freeze time and demonstrate that on a Friday, it's going to send it to people Saturday, Sunday, but not necessarily on Monday. So that's what we should see happen. But of course, this is probably going to fail because we don't have any logic to tell it to look ahead. So we get a failure. It sends renewal. Uh-oh. Did I change the names of this? Expiring in 1 week. Failed asserting that 0 is identical to 2. What did I break here? Oh, I broke the dates. I copied the wrong test. Look at me go. All right, let's steal these. Let's swap our test setup here. All right, let's bring this back. Back up top, that's where it belongs. I'm used to like a really large screen, but I bump my resolution down when I'm live streaming. And sometimes I like forget I need to scroll. All right, so those go back to good, but this one fails. It didn't send them to anybody. It didn't send them to anybody because I specifically didn't put any on the actual day Friday. I put them where they would land on the weekend. So it's not sending anything because it's not looking ahead. So now we need a bit of a trigger here. So we kind of need this end date. So we can say something like end, and here we'll say end equals now. Do they have like an is Friday? Oh my god, they do. That's awesome. Okay, so if it is Friday, then we're gonna do something. Otherwise, I like carbon. Man, that's cool. Is Friday. Okay, so if it is Friday, can you do like end of week? Oh, that wouldn't include Sunday because your day. Oh wait, does it? End of week looks like you can pass week ends at. How does that work? Reset the date of the end of the week defined as week ends at and time blah 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 blah. Int. Optional start allow you to specify the day of the week to use as the end. So what do? Pass in 7 to say it starts on Sunday? Or you start on Monday? Oh, it's like a modulo. That's kind of cool. So what if we pretended that the end of the week was week ends at Monday? I'm assuming 1 means Monday. Does Carbon have some... Do they have like some kind of... Do you say like Monday? Oh, they do. So it is okay. So let's do that. That looks a lot cleaner. What is this? Constant from base class. Carbon reference file child class. Replace with carbon instance. That's funky. What does that mean? Is that because this like uses carbon underneath? That's kind of strange. Or did I import the wrong thing? Where's my license renewal notification? There it is. What is this? Constant from base class, carbon interface referenced via child class, replace carbon instance. What is this wanting us to do? Carbon interface. Oh, do they? Okay, I see. It's not referenced directly. Okay. I see. PHP Storm wants us to use where it's defined explicitly. I didn't realize you could reference an interface constant directly like that. That's kind of strange. Maybe that's new in like recent versions of PHP. Anyway, let's see if this passes. Uh-oh, failed asserting that 0 instead of 2 times. So I think we still have something a bit broken here. So what I want to do is, let's just say end, let's dump end to be format with just an R or something, no big deal. Let's see what this actually looks like. And I'm hearing some chat. It complains because the constant is defined on the parent of carbon. Yeah. Okay, so it's going to the end on Monday. So I'm wondering if we pass, what happens when we pass nothing? And I'm kind of just trying to understand how this week ends at works. I appreciate that it's probably locale based, but do I even need to specify anything? See, it is saying Sunday, June 12th at the end of the night. So I don't think I need to pass anything in, which means I can get rid of that instance reference. Okay, so now the question is, why is it not picking up kind of those future dates? Oh, and it's because I'm not a week out. That's why. That's my problem. So we need to say add day 8. And this would be 9, because we got to be a week ahead, right? And then here, same thing. We would do now, add week, end of that week. There we go. All right. I think this is more appropriate. And we can see here that it's Sunday the 12th, which really we want to be looking ahead at Sunday the 19th. There we go. Now we're passing. So once we got past some date math issues there, it's all good. And all the more reason I wanted to test this. And we can see here, based on from what I have, from what I guess I had written, or maybe Jess had written a long time ago when we first built the workbench, we can see that the logic that I had before didn't line up anyway. So let's clean out all of our debugging here. Let's run this one more time so we can see the nice test cases pass. And I think we're pretty much done. We'll know if this is all sending correctly when it actually goes out, but there we go. So it took about an hour, but we played around with a lot of the different dates, and you can kind of see, you know, again, there might be some things that you didn't think of in here, and this just kind of demonstrates the power of testing, right? Like my naive implementation that I wrote beforehand, this like email license renewals, I just said ends at now, you know, plus the week. If I didn't schedule that just right, this could have been spamming users. It could have missed a whole week's worth of people. It doesn't give people a lot of time to renew if they got this on a Friday or they expired on a Sunday. You know, it's kind of, I think this is a little cleaner, right? It took a little extra time with this date math, but Carbon made that so easy. Like if it's a Friday, add a week and, you know, get to the end of that week. Otherwise, you know, it's like, and I wonder if they even have like end of next week. Oh, that would be really cool if they did. But anyway, this is easy enough. So I think short of renaming some of these commands and then of course checking that this license renewal, you know, the wording here looks good, but you know, this, yeah, I think this is good. Your Shift Workbench license expires this week. That's accurate. Or I guess in a week is what Scheme was saying. So yeah, I'm going to check the content of that offline, but I think this is pretty good to go. So there you have it. Thanks everybody for joining live. I'll do something else next week. Let me know on Twitter if you have any ideas or anything you'd like to see. Otherwise, I'll save a task that I think can fit in an hour and live stream it. So thanks again.